Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to White Sox Daily. I'm Aaron Feely, and let's just jump right into the White Sox news. Starting with right off the bat, we've heard some news that the Chicago White Sox general manager Chris Getz is earning himself a little bit of ire from general managers from across the league over his inability to reach an agreement as their phones have just been ringing off the hook, particularly, no surprise here, for Luis Robert. He's in the center of trade speculation all over again. Teams have been continuously calling Getz, asking for Robert, and straight from the mouth of Chris Getz himself, he says, this is a player that can really change the game in a lot of different ways, and that trading him away would take an absolute haul. Also, according to Getz, this is a quote from him, I have heard that teams have been frustrated with the ask, but that frustration is stemming from the fact that they really want the player. So there's different ways to view it, and the beauty of it all is that he's our player, and he's someone we're proud of, and that we know can help us win ball games. If that means that we're stubborn or asking for too much, so be it, but he's our player, and it's our right to handle it that way, straight from the mouth of Chris Getz himself. Multiple teams have been intrigued by Luis Robert, dating all the way back to not just last year's trade deadline, but even the year before that, after Robert's obviously spectacular 2023 season, all-star year, had a great showing in the home run derby. One of the more spectacular special parts of a very disappointing 2023 White Sox team was at least we got to watch Luis Robert pretty much every day. And then 2024 and 2025, he had some dips in his statistics, not being able to match any of his offensive production from either of those years. Was able to maintain his steal rate, though, a phenomenal over 30 stolen bases last year, maintaining a nice floor, plus obviously still been spectacular defensively in each year since. A lot of the speculation around why he's been so popular in these trades comes from, well, the offense has dipped for him. Maybe the White Sox are willing to move off him, even though he is still young. And I am a very pro keep Luis Robert very much in that bandwagon, because I don't think we're as monumentally far away from competing to maybe make a playoff spot as a lot of other people kind of are. And so to me, I would say I am in camp keep Robert, just like Chris Getz obviously is. It would take an awful lot to move off of him right now, at least according to Getz and the Chicago White Sox, and it looks like that's starting to really frustrate some other teams that were really hoping that maybe he'd come at a discounted price after two straight seasons of his OPS being under 667. His batting average was under the Mendoza line for most of 2025. Didn't quite get that back up until well into the second half of the season, but he was really struggling with the batting average for a majority of last year. Wasn't hitting quite the power that he had been in previous seasons, though he was still among the team leaders, of course, as Sosa ended up taking that from him towards the end of the year, but Sosa played a lot more games than Luis Robert, and that's been the other thing, is just keeping him on the field. He's had some health issues, so, obviously these are going to continue to be rumors that circle until Luis Robert proves to be unmovable, or until someone offers up something that is just undeniable for the Chicago White Sox. That's going to move us, though, right along to part one of the offseason that everyone wants to talk about for the Chicago White Sox, is what they are going to do with first base. The corner infield, a big up-in-the-air type of deal for Chicago. They have not been getting production out of first base really since Jose Abreu left several years ago to go to Houston. Andrew Vaughn did not pan out for Chicago quite the way we were hoping. Ended up having a brief little insanity run there with Milwaukee as they were heading towards the postseason, but then that even petered out in its own right. But one thing that the Chicago White Sox could be looking into here is Japanese star Kazuma Okamoto. Played the last several years for the Yomiuri Giants, often regarded as the New York Yankees of the Japanese pro leagues, just because of some of their past success and the vast popularity of them. They're one of the Tokyo teams there in Japan, so obviously they come with a fairly massive fan following just from that. Tokyo has just two teams in that league, Okamoto has been one of the better infielders across the league for the last 11 seasons. in the last 11 years, batting a career 274 batting average. He's got 277 home runs. This last year was held to just 77 games, only played about half the season, and still sent 15 over the wall, and actually had a really nice season as far as just getting on base. 322 batting average and a 411 on base percentage. He was actually really good with the contact, just couldn't stay healthy quite at the rate that he had been in previous years. To those of our American viewers might remember him as well from the 2023 World Baseball Classic. He actually hit a home run in that 3-2 victory that Japan got over Team USA. So wasn't a particular fan of him for that one night. However, I will become a massive fan if the Chicago White Sox can land him. He plays primarily third and first base for the Giants. Could be a guy, provides some of that power boost. He's obviously a guy that's in that 30 to 40 home run power range. He's had a number of 40 home run seasons and a really nice number of 30 home run seasons. He's hit over 30 home runs on 7 separate occasions, over 40 once. And of course, shortened seasons over there. Only played a maximum of 143 games in any of those seasons. So a guy that has great power, can play corner infield, which is a position that has been in flux for the White Sox, could be a really intriguing guy for the White Sox to sign if they can get him after he and a couple of other Japanese stars posted officially today. So they will have officially 45 days to sign with an MLB team. So that'll put them right around late December as their time limit to officially sign the Chicago White Sox. Very interested. Haven't signed a Japanese player since 2005 when they landed Iguchi, and obviously that went pretty spectacularly for the White Sox. A stalwart at second base for him through that magical 2005 run. His career best WAR that year, 2.8. A guy that got on base, a guy that had a nice batting average, a guy that played great defense, and obviously had that magical 11-1 postseason run with Iguchi manning second base. So yeah, if the Chicago White Sox want to dip back into that market, anything that they want to do for the first time since 2005, I think that's something that you might as well try at this point if you are Chicago. But that's going to lead us right into the infield talks. It's been the biggest talking point, probably will be all offseason, is kind of that flux on the infield. You feel great about Colson Montgomery. He played mostly shortstop last year. That's what he's mostly been in the minor leagues as well. But there's going to be a bit of rotation, a bit of who plugs in where, and I think there'll even be some experimenting going on early on, at least in spring training, certainly, and probably even early into the regular season as far as who really fits where the best. Montgomery probably at shortstop, but he can play some third base as well. Mydroth and Sosa going to compete to probably be, someone's going to be at second base. Do you put one of them over at third if you can't land a Kazuma Okamoto? Where does Miguel Vargas fit in? Probably a natural fit at first base, but didn't quite have the power numbers you're looking for from your first baseman, which is why they're obviously digging into the Japanese superstar as well. Sosa can play some third base. We all know that. Do you just stick with those four? You put maybe Vargas at first, Sosa at third, Mydroth at second. Probably not ideal, but if you can't land another guy in free agency, probably what you're going to have to at least start the season with. And then, see if any other form of that rotation works out. Maybe you end up calling somebody up, seeing what sticks. So let us know in the comment section below where you'd like to see everyone playing on that infield this coming season and how you feel about the potential of landing a Kazuma Okamoto over from the Giants, over from Japan, and seeing if that can be the solution. Bring him in, plug him in at first base, and go. He's probably going to be the guy that can maybe lead this team in home runs next year, assuming that Luis Robert doesn't stay healthy again or isn't traded halfway through the year. Sounds like right now Getz, again, we talked about it, not really looking to do that. But you never know. Come trade deadline, if the White Sox are maybe not capitalizing on the momentum of the second half of last year, they're starting to take a downward trajectory. You never know what's going to happen. And let's talk about that as well. Obviously, Getz been stingy to this point, says he doesn't really want to move guys just to move guys, and he's asking a lot for the guys that he has gotten. But that doesn't mean that no one will get traded. Obviously, general managers will say all kinds of things who do you think could be moved? Obviously, I think some of the big names right now, there's been a lot of teams asking about some of the catchers between Teal and Edgar Quero. Um, I think the infield is pretty much safe. I think Montgomery is the only one that most other teams would be that interested in trading for that would return us really much of anything. I think everyone else is probably safe, and they're not going to move Montgomery. I don't even think teams are going to try on that one. So it's probably one of the outfielders. If anyone gets traded, obviously Chicago kind of fell in love with Mike Tauchman towards the end of last year. He had a really nice season, led off for us for a majority of the year. Really nice bounce back year for the veteran that was kind of scorned on the other side of Chicago. Cubs fans were almost kind of borderline happy to just get rid of him, and the South side really embraced him as a really nice leadoff guy for the White Sox, good table setter, but he is 35, and definitely a guy that, I talked about Luis Roberts going to be here when this team is ready to contend again. A lot of people don't think so. I personally think we're a little closer, that Luis Roberts should be part of our future plans. Mike Tauchman, no. He's way too old. You can obviously just keep him for this year and just have him stick around, be a good veteran presence, mentor some of the young guys, but I think the best value is you try to trade him, get something in return, especially if maybe the season gets going and he has another nice start to the year for the White Sox. Definitely a name to watch maybe towards the trade deadline. Obviously, I think the White Sox would really like to get rid of that albatross of a contract that is Andrew Benintendi. But again, because of the contract, that's obviously harder to do, even if he does come out and play really well. So it's a complex situation. You let me know in the comment section below who you guys think is the number one trade candidate for Chicago as this offseason keeps rolling. What do you think we should do with the infield? What are some free agent names you guys have your eyes on? And we'll see you again on Monday.